have a lot of things that are on my to-dos that seem external, but they're like all for me. I send out gratitude texts to the people I love, and it's all for me because they're gonna text back and say thanks for the kind words, Julian. You're awesome, and I'll go great, great. So every Wednesday I send out 3 gratitude texts to those 3 people. So real quick, as we shift to the external, Shane, you play golf? You play golf?
Yeah.
We gotta play sometime for sure. We'll make that happen. Do you live in this area?
No, I'm not.
North?
I'm around
My man, I live in Chino Hills, so we'll find a way to make that happen. So golf, for those of you who don't know, it's a terrible, terrible, terrible spectator sport. 1, nothing good ever happens. 2, when something good does happen, you're only allowed to celebrate about this much. And so, real quick, if I can get your guys' participation in this, can you give me your absolute worst version of a golf club? Real quick. That was terrible. Absolutely terrible. Now, do me a favor. Can you do it again? Real nice and terrible. Now, can you double it? Louder. There you go. Can we double it again? Perfect. Now, did you guys catch something? That's what I do in business. I point out an industry and I isolate an issue. I get some people's participation and I get all my friends to join in on me solving that problem. You guys joined in, we haven't got to the solution yet, but that's how you should look at your service, your business. Find the industry, isolate the issue, point it out, talk about it, find a way to solve it. And not just by yourself, you and a couple friends. Go and solve it. So let's talk about that. I mean, my expertise, my zone of genius, the little thing that I do know, is I know how to market and know how to sell. And so externally, obviously those things are communicatable. And as I talked about in the first half, like a lot of that, it was a big discovery for me, how much entrepreneurship is an internal game. It's so internal. It's almost all internal. To believe, I even teased Nita about this before, do you know what it takes to have like a founder's brain? To think that like, there's this thing, I have an idea, and it doesn't exist in the world yet, but I believe one day I'm gonna like find people who are gonna help me make this thing, this jumpsuit that I'm gonna have somebody stitch together and put the piece together, and it's gonna look just like how I did it, envision it in my mind. And then guess what? I'm gonna tell people about it, and some people are gonna pay me money for it. In Nita's case, a lot of money for it. And they're gonna tell their friends because they're gonna resonate with this message that I just thought up one day that really relates with me. That's a founder. And it takes a lot to have a founder's brain. Now I'm here to tell you, not everyone should and is best suited to be a founder. And that's totally fine, no judgment. There's implementers and there's founders. There's visionaries and there's operators. So ask yourself, am I a high-level operator? Am I supposed to be involved in this? Or am I a visionary where I'm supposed to fly above and always look a year, 3 years ahead and operate that way? I'll tell you what, the most successful people, the people that we follow, the people we look up to, do both. They do both. They do it at a high level. And so if I could spend the next couple minutes really talking about those 2 subjects, marketing and sales, I'll do that. The way I look at marketing, it's not some logo, some BS, or some like, what's the slogan? I feel like this is like a word that hasn't been used in a while. Slogan. What's our slogan? But some people still probably have them. This isn't that. The way I envision it is what I call climbing the pyramid of influence. And if you imagine a pyramid, there is, and you draw a line through the bottom. It would be like the biggest chunk, right? The biggest chunk are generalists. Now, generalists are people in a service. Let's say you're a personal trainer, and you just train anybody. right? We all know the personal trainer who kind of goes around asking around. He'll train the 75-year-old woman, and he'll train the 18-year-old guy, and he'll probably give them the same program. And he'll offer his services. Hey, I'll help you, right? And we all know that guy. But above that, above the generalist, is the specialist of the industry. And what's funny about the generalist is that this person is going to stay stuck in the generalist space because they believe that if I can help more people, I can make more money. Although that sounds right on paper, it's definitely not the truth. As you climb the pyramid, a side benefit is that you get to charge more money, more dollars for your services, more in exchange. And so the difference between a generalist and a specialist is really like, think of the difference between that personal trainer and somebody who says, I only train gold medal winning bodybuilders. You guys see the difference? There's a hard promise. And man, how do we go from generalist to specialist? You isolate. As my old mentor, Bedros Koulian, used to say, the riches are in the niches. And so carve out your niche and be that person for that industry, for that group of people, for that community. And that brings me to like, what is the next levels of the pyramid as we go a tier higher? It's the authority/expert. And at the very tippy top, it's the celebrity of the industry. Now, celebrity is achieved through like, you end up on a Netflix show, or you have some big brand collaboration with like a bank or something like that, or you become some high-level influencer. That's cool, but it's definitely not necessary. I know many people in the 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure range in the authority space. They're doing just fine. And so, how do you bridge the gap between specialist and authority? Content, right? The voice that we speak, becoming a voice for the industry. People love lists. So if you're like, if I'm that personal trainer, or if I was coaching this personal trainer and he was sitting right in that seat, I would say like, man, I'm sure you know a handful of things that are relatable and that they know are going on within the industry. Like, here's 7 red flags of a personal trainer. Here's the top 5 things you should know before dialing in your nutrition. Here's the top 10 exercises if you're looking to build a bigger chest and whatever the heck goes on in the fitness industry. I'm not a fitness person, but I know many people who are. And yeah, I mean, like, on the red flags, what does that mean? That's exposing the underside of your industry. And when we expose the underside of the industry, we're building trust, and we're showing that we're not just in it for benefit, and we're in it for the money. And I love that though.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the MDK project, the project though. It's an interesting thing. But yeah, in the authority space, man, not only do incoming clients look at your content, look at your website, look at your emails that you send them because you got the permission to send them emails, and think, goddamn, like this person knows exactly what it is that I'm looking for. They're clearly an expert in the industry. So I should go and bring my services. The next time I want to get a personal trainer, I should probably do it with this guy. Not only that, but if you're looking to scale, if you're looking to grow a team in your business, you're going to post that content because incoming trainers will come in and say, goddamn, Julian's clearly an expert in this industry. What if I go and work for him? Because he's clearly an expert, I can learn a lot from him. And in the fitness space, there's something that happens that we call becoming the coach of coaches. And that's where you start to train other trainers. And that's called high leverage. Now, leverage is a term that I could break down a little bit, but imagine if you started posting content, you started becoming a voice for your industry, and people, incoming trainers, are saying, I don't know how to figure this thing out in personal training and business. What if I paid this person an obscene amount of money to work with them for the next 6 months to bring my business closer to theirs? And that's when your job becomes to make them realize that the money that they have currently is worth less than achieving the business that they're looking for. And that's another thing in sales. In that moment, if I could talk about sales a little bit, you have to make, you don't have to, but your job is to make somebody value the outcome, value your promise, value the achievement that you are going to deliver over what they currently have. And Nita, you know this, like in the personal training space especially, like fitness. Like, dude, you gotta let go of your current habits and replace them with good ones. And I know that's a hard thing to do, being in the fitness space for the past like 2 years now, kind of on the outside looking thing. But man, like, it's almost harder to teach somebody new habits than it is to help them build on top of their current habits. Like, man, people are already eating, so how do we teach them to just eat better, eat differently? I think the thing that keeps that person stuck is they believe that they should stop eating, or that they should cut it to the thin and say, like, I'm gonna drink water and eat air for dinner. Yeah, that's not the answer. And so going back to the pyramid, man, like, if we were to go to the celebrity stage again, that's like, perfect example. Jerry, you're a doctor. You would know this. If to give you a story, if we were walking down the street, or matter of fact on this stage, and I somehow missed my step and I slip off the edge here and I crack my head open on this pole, and we have to go to the General Sherman Oaks Hospital and go and see the general doctor. I would say, hey, I need stitches on my forehead because Nita pushed me off because her biceps are bigger than mine. And he's like, oh, do you want to press charges? I'm like, yeah, I want to press charges because Nita's a jerk. I'm kidding. But he would say, okay, let's stitch it up. He'd stitch it up. He'd use a certain amount of equipment, probably take 20 minutes. He'd put some cream on it. He's like, hey, the scar's going to look like this, and in about 2 weeks, you're going to be all good. And I'd say, great. And off I went, and I'd pay a certain amount of money, and that'd be that. But if we were in Washington, D.C., and we went to go see Dr. Oz, and you guys know who Dr. Oz is, right? Like, world-renowned, like all the local channels and YouTube channel, all that stuff. Dr. Oz, and said, hey, Dr. Oz, I cracked my head open because Nita was fucking around and she pushed me off the stage. And he would say, oh man, that Nita person's a jerk. He'd say, let's stitch you up. He would stitch me up, probably use the same amount of equipment, right? He'd probably do the same stitch pattern or whatever. He'd probably use the same cream, if not another brand of cream, and say, hey, dude, it's going to heal in the same 2 weeks as the other doctor told you to, right? But in this case, who would I have to pay more? Dr. Oz, right? And probably like by a lot. And so as you climb the pyramid of influence, what happens is a shift in being paid for what you do to being paid for who you are. And I think we all want to leverage the skill of being paid for who we are, right? So that's how you guys should be looking at your service, at your business, at yourself in general, man. Like, I think a personal brand is just so essential. And if you're asking the question, should I build a personal brand? You already are. You already are. So you might as well make it a good one, right? The people you see at work, the people you pass on the way through the gym, the people you walk by at the bus stop, like you walk to your car, that's your personal brand. You may not be posting or boasting or telling them everything about yourself, but man, do we carry a personal brand? The way I look at sales is not some cheesy or sleazy way to like steal somebody's money. Most of the ways that I look at it are really either overlooked or just things that we haven't been exposed to, and they typically show up at low to no cost. I'm not the kind of person to tell somebody to improve their sales and then just tell them to spend $12,000 a month on ads. I wouldn't do that. Yeah. My brain goes to lowest level of implementation. And the funny thing is, you guys ever heard the saying, like, if you want something done, you ask a lazy person because they'll find the easiest way to say it? That's me. Like, totally me. And so ask me how to get something done, I'll tell you the easiest way to do it. Because I am lazy. Jerry knows this. Man, so like how it comes down to like how we interact with that local industry, with the local community, things like that. And again, it's not having to spend a bunch of money. So if we go back to the personal trainer, let's give him a name. Like, Nita, think of a name. George, the personal trainer, right? George, the personal trainer who's lived in Sherman Oaks for 2 years because he moved from Nebraska or something like that. He's like, how do I make it big, Nita? And you're going to give him the answers. So when it comes to sales, it's not that you're going to look at competing businesses and ask for referrals, ask for shares. you're gonna go to complementing businesses, right? So George, I wouldn't tell George, hey, go to other personal trainers and say, hey, like, because imagine that, right? George goes to other personal trainers and goes, hey, I'm this personal trainer from Nebraska, and I'm trying to make it big, man. Like, can you refer me some clients? Like, that'd be awesome. They'd be like, dude, get the fuck out of here. What are you talking about? Like, go and beat it. Go kick rocks. But if George went to the local juice shop, if he went to the yoga studio, if he went to the yogurt place and was like, hey, my name's George, I'm a personal trainer, and man, like, he would go to the authorities, right? And like the workers there, the employees, the manager, the owner of the shop, and go, hey man, like, I'm a personal trainer, I'm new to this area, and like, man, I would love to give you guys like free personal training sessions. I'll help you get to your goal, and if I don't in this amount of time, I'll continue to coach you, no worries. So long as that, hey, like the next time the conversation comes up about like somebody wanting to get in shape, like maybe you could mention my name. Like, here's a card, or here's my Instagram. Maybe you can send them my Instagram. And that's when you start to build like a community. Because if you went to the local juice shop, the yoga studio, the yogurt place, they're all gonna say yes. Because they're like, holy shit, man, you're willing to give me some free stuff? Like, hell yeah, right? And you're new here, you seem like a nice guy, of course. And that is what we call building trusted referrals. As I say, the highest form of influence is friend, right? And like, man, how many times has your friend told you, like, dude, you gotta go to this restaurant, it's down the street, went there the other day, you gotta get the steak tacos because they're freaking fire and they're crispy, and the place is cool, the chairs are cool, and man, yeah, you're gonna love the steak tacos because I know you're a steak taco kind of guy. And you go, all right, Wednesday night, where are you? You're at that restaurant getting steak tacos. Before you could check the Google reviews, the Yelp reviews, there you are, right? And more times than not, the food isn't ever as good as like they tell you it is. It's just like they're a good day or something, but there you are wasting your Wednesday night with you and the girlfriend getting steak tacos. But why is that? It's because that was your friend, right? Like you trusted him. You were like, oh dude, like I know this guy wouldn't lead me the wrong way. I probably have the same taste as him. We've eaten at a couple places. We got the same thing before. And so in your business, how do you make friends have a conversation about you that doesn't require you to be there? Now that's literally the definition of remarkable. Enough to make a remark about. And so wow your customers, right? Wow your clients, especially the top performing ones, if you're in a client service-based business. And man, like to tell a story, man, like there was a guy named Stephen Batone. Stephen Batone ran a solar company out of Northern California. Man, I haven't told this story in a while. Solar company in Northern California, and like, you know, what more boring Shane, I don't know if you're in solar or anything, but like to me, solar sounds very boring. Like it's just like you're in it, but like you just talk about solar's the future, man. I actually spoke with the solar sales team, and so they're a good bunch. But he sells solar, right? And you know, basing it on the past conversation, like how many people can you actually go to and be like, I sell solar, can you help me grow? Like it's solar. Anyways, he was like, man, I'm maxed out on my revenue. I'm maxed out on my marketing dollars, I'm maxed out on my overhead, I can't pay my employees anymore, I don't know where to go, and matter of fact, I don't even know where to grow from here. So we immediately went to what I call finding your blue ocean. Now that falls under the umbrella of the low to no cost marketing and sales. We were like, let's find your blue ocean, right? A blue ocean is like, man, there's a whole ocean out there of your future potential customers, but maybe they just don't know about you yet. So the question doesn't become, how do I find new customers? Like they're not hiding, they're not dug up, and you're gonna dig them up and find them. Your question becomes, how do I get in front of the eyes of my potential future customers? And so he was like, all right, I don't know where to grow from here. So we thought of who are the complementing businesses. We thought of roofers, and we thought of AC installers. Roofers it worked a little cool for like a month. Because like if you look at like a roofer, they like get on the roof, they do their thing, they hammer the thing away, you give them a check and then off they go, right? The relationship isn't that deep. But with AC installers, they're the ones who are gonna like walk to your house, look at the piping layout and tell you where the vents go and which one goes here and there, and you're talking along the way, and then they sit down, they make you sign 10 papers, and so the relationship was a lot deeper. So we're like, let's go with them. All of you guys are from Southern California, right? And so you've seen the next gen AC billboard, right? Next gen billboards. They're obviously doing pretty well because they can afford like every other billboard on the freeway on the 15. And he was like, I want to talk to Next Gen. And he goes, all right, how do I contact the CEO of Next Gen? And he's like, do I email him or DM him? And I was like, fuck no. Because he probably gets 1,000 emails, 1,000 DMs a day that people just want him to compliment him or work with them. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna send him steaks, you're gonna send him wine, you're gonna write a little note that says, hey, my name is Steven. I know you don't know who I am. I don't really have an ask as of right now, but I just wanted to say I'm a big fan of what you created over at NextGen. And man, I know quality work when I see it because the last 3 homes that I did with my solar company had NextGen ACs installed. And man, I know quality work. And so I just wanted to say I'm a big fan of what you created, and hopefully I could be the next gen of my industry one day. So here's some steaks, here's some wine for you and your wife and kids. I hope you enjoy it. Sends it off. Forgets about it too, by the way. A week later, he gets a DM from the CEO of NextGen. You can probably look up what his name is, but he gets a DM, like the CEO's DMing Steven now, saying, hey dude, I got your package. You're right, I don't know who you are, but I really love the steaks. My wife loved the wine. And I'd love to find out about what you do. And so they message back and forth. A week later, he's getting flown out to Anaheim, California, the big giant facility in Anaheim. They're walking the floor. He's getting a peek behind the curtain of the manufacturing, the sales team over at NextGen. And the most important thing is they're building a relationship along the way. And 2 weeks after that, Steven sends me a screenshot of a text that went on between them. And he's saying, hey dude, what if, as we expand into the Southwest, into like Vegas, into Nevada, into Utah, what if for every next-gen AC installation we do a referral for your solar company? And his business blew up from there. Like Southern California, Southwest, and now him and NextGen are in Northern California as well.
Wow.
All because of what? Was it some cheesy ad that he recorded? Was it $20,000 a month behind some banner on a website? No, it was steaks and wine. Sent with a letter of love at that, right? Like, hey, let me love you up because I'm a big fan of what you do. That's it. And so if you want to grow your business, find the people who have your future customers, grease the wheels of a relationship and be genuine with it, and grow like that. Grow like that. That's how you should be looking at sales. Again, it's not what are the slick words that I can say that'll make somebody like fucking hypnotize them into like, oh, like here's my credit card. Like it's not that. This isn't the Wolf of Wall Street. This isn't Jordan Belfort, although I love that guy. I think I got his book somewhere. But I love that guy. But this isn't that. This isn't that. If there are any service providers in this audience, and especially on the creative side, photography, tattoo artists, DJs, musicians, right? The way I've been telling them to grow in sales, one way is that, man, if you made a list of the last 30, 40 people that you've worked with, and like, hey, whatever, it's scalable. If the number's 15, because you've only worked with 15, you're just starting out in your second year, whatever, no worries. But if you made the list, and I recently worked with a tattoo artist, and he did a 12-week mentorship, and I think in 3 weeks I helped him make, it was like $25,000, $35,000, just in 3 weeks. It was awesome. And what I was telling them was like, man, if you just texted, again, because a list, like, to me, a list is so crucial. And it's not even so much what's on the list, it's the act of checking it off. This ties back so much to the internal conversation. Like, dude, if you're not making a list every day of just things to do, now, it's not gonna be brush your teeth, it's not gonna be fucking walk the dog, like, something that you are either gonna track if you did or did not do, and just check it off. That is a version, a diluted version, but a version of like going to war with yourself. You need to hold yourself accountable. You need to call yourself out when you do or do not do things. Because that'll teach the muscle of doing harder things. Because then the point isn't to have so many things on the list. It's to tell yourself and confirm yourself, I'm somebody who gets shit done. And that's so crucial. And so if you can master that skill, you can move on to this, which is think of 30, 40 people that you've worked with in the past. And you're gonna check them off one by one, and you're just gonna send them a text. You're gonna send them a text, or better yet, you're gonna send a video saying, hey dude, let's talk about tattoo artists, right? You're gonna send them a video and be like, hey, I know it's been a while since I've tattooed you. Maybe it's like been 2 years, right? The whole 2020 thing, like I think we can all relate to 2020 affecting us all somehow, right? It's kind of like the marker in our lives as recent. And you could be like, hey man, like I know 2020 was hard. I know I tattooed you 3 years ago. How's life? And you just show up with love, right? And you're like, how's life? Just checking in. They're gonna be like, holy shit, what is this? Like checking in on me. They're gonna text back, and after a couple back and forths, right? You're not gonna go, hey, how's life? Do you want a tattoo? They'd be like, get the fuck out of here, right? You're gonna give a couple back and forths and be like, hey, like, I know times have been rough. Like, I'm just checking in. I know you had kids. Like, I'm sure they're all grown up now. I'd love to see a picture of them, this and that. How's the tattoo healing? Did you ever get anything around it? Like, how's it going? And then after some conversation, you're gonna be like, dude, would it sound crazy to think that like, I don't know, I got some availability this week. What if we had the next tattoo that you were thinking of? What if we go and book it? Like, let's get it in the calendar. They're gonna say yes. Here's the thing, here's why. And I told a lot of tattoo artists because they were like, are you sure it's gonna work, man? I was like, dude, I have one tattoo. But I already know the second, third, fourth, fifth tattoo I'm gonna get, right? But it's in the back of my head. It's never, I'm not sitting on the stage thinking like, I gotta get this tattoo. But if my tattoo artist texted me right now, and he didn't even have to do the whole show with love bullshit. Like, he could just be like, hey dude, you wanna get the second tattoo you're thinking of? Like, I'd be like, yeah. Because, guess where I'd be? Wednesday night, Costa Mesa, life after death tattoo. I'd be right there in that chair. Because he brought it to the top of my head, right? And so if you showed up with love and had this conversation, like, of course you're gonna say yes. Now, if 30, 40 people, you're gonna get 10, 15 appointments in your next 2 weeks. Now, what'll that do for your bottom line, right? We always wanna think in bottom line. How do we raise the bottom line in our business, in our sales? And that happens through, again, communication. I hope this is a good display of the way I've looked at sales, which has helped me do pretty well. I'm sure there's people who crush it, and then more credit to them, more love to them. And how do we make these little systems, these little tips, become systems and protocols? See, all our life, I think the most successful people on the planet operate with systems, processes, and rituals. And so that little thing, what if we made that a once a month thing? What would that do for your business, right? And going back to like the internal, this is something I want to bring up in the internal, but how many of us have systems, processes, and rituals around our internal conversation? What's our knee-jerk reaction to some things? Somebody brings up that topic of, hey, you're looking a little chunky, or like, hey, oh, you're doing that business thing, and we get triggered. Dude, I got it the other day. This can go so deep, and like, man, I would love Nita, because I look up to you, if you called me out on this, but like, I had a friend who is like, hey, how's the entrepreneurship going? How's the business going? And I was like, good, man, like everything's moving, everything's going great. And he goes off and asks a couple more questions, I think, about understanding my business, and he goes on to say like, oh yeah, like in my business, I had to do this and that, and I had to move these people and do this. Mind you, he works at like a car dealership. And that's totally perfectly fine, there's no judgment against him, but it's not business. Like that car manufacturer pays $1 million a month to bring in customers, to market services for them. And so it's not necessarily their business, right? But it was a trigger in that like, here I am, struggling, not even struggling, but like going to war with myself daily, trying to keep the attitude high in the face of what is called a recession, and then this and that, and opportunities sometimes not coming my way, or deals that I can't close, and therefore food I can't put on the table, going to war. And I was triggered by the fact that this guy was like, yeah, oh, in business it's going like this. And I had to develop a system. What is my knee-jerk reaction? What is my system in reacting to my own triggers? And then, that is a question I think truthfully we all need to ask ourselves. What systems do we have in place for those types of triggers? Man, the last thing I want to close with is a framework of where the external meets the internal. Am I good on time? Okay. Where the internal meets the external. If you guys could think to yourself, a part of your life that you feel extremely happy and proud about. If you need to close your eyes, close your eyes. But really think on that. Isolate it and just take a couple seconds to live in the joy and pride of being happy about that thing, that aspect of your life. Now, if we could switch over, think of a part of your life that you feel absolute pain in. And man, I think the worst tragedy in the planet is when pain turns to suffering. Pain turns to suffering when we believe that there's nothing we can do to change. And that's unfortunate. Because if it's not education, if it's not knowing what it takes to get out of your situation, it's choices. Now that's a more complex thing, because then you're trying to influence somebody's choices. But going back, what's the difference between pain and pleasure, pain and pride, pain and something you're proud of? The part of your life that you are happy about, you have where you are, and you have this framework of where you're supposed to be. If you're happy about that part of your life, you exceed the framework of where you believe society, people, humans are supposed to be. Meaning, there's a woman out there saying, I am married at 22, and that is great. I am super proud of that about my life, right? Because she has met the expectation. She's like, oh, people are divorced at 27, I'm still married for this long, and people my age can't even get married. Here I am married. She's going to be happy and proud about that part of her life because of the framework and where she is. When we experience pain, that's because we have the framework, and then we have where we are, which is far behind the framework. You're then met with two choices. You can change where you are by a string of choices that bring you into that standard, into that framework of what joy, happiness, pride would look like. Or we can move the framework. Because there's a story out there of I can't remember his name, it's slipping me right now, but he was a football player, high school All-American, college, scholarship, of course. I don't know the divisions, but divisional player of the year. And his happiness, his joy, his pride was that one day I'm going to be in the NFL and I'm going to give back to my community, the hood. I'm going to give back to the hood. That's what he was thinking. And 2 weeks before draft day, tragic car accident. So tragic that he loses half of his limb and he loses the use of his legs. And he moves forward, spirits high. He's thinking, okay, I can get through this. But after a while, after all the cards and all the well wishes and all the DMs and all the shares and all the people showing love and support, he's still there like, fuck, man, I can't use my legs. I have half a fucking arm. And my framework of happiness was that I'm supposed to be in the NFL, making millions of dollars and giving back to my community. And he fell into a depression. Do you think his pain turned into suffering there? Of course it did, right? Because there's a difference between circumstance and conditions. He faced a condition in life. Many times in life, we face circumstance. We believe it's conditions. That's totally false. And you have to know the difference. Circumstances we can change. We can always change circumstances. Conditions we can't. We can't say, well, hey, okay, with your no use of your legs and your half arm, we're going to get you in the NFL. We're going to make money. It's just not possible. What did he do? He changed the framework. Because he just needed to be exposed in saying that, did you know a year after the tragic accident, he started a foundation for kids to get football equipment, team equipment, an outlet for kids to get off the street and into a football field where they can play and practice amongst each other and have good, positive male influences in their life? Did that require millions and millions of dollars? No. But he was fulfilling his happiness. He just didn't know it. His framework was that it was here. And he was here. He needed to be told, you're already making the impact you want to make. We can help you make millions of dollars. But you're already impacting the community that you have. And so his choice was to change the framework. So if you're unhappy in life, you can change the circumstance, you can change your actions of where you are, or you can change the framework. And that's where internal meets external. And that's been my time. And I want to bring